and then I'll be back to my normal chill self, I promise. Um, Alright, welcome. This is M-Dog. We're just going to do a quick video here. We're at Old Burg. We're down here at the pond. We're actually kind of on this end of the bridge that crosses the pond, casting back into the pond in this direction, which I guess would be, what, southeast? So I just wanted to do a quick update video on Tench at Old Burg, and we'll talk just briefly here. If you saw my previous video that I did recently on Bream at Volkov, we're actually using the exact same gear, hook sizes, line, everything. So in my opinion, what you want is, and let me go ahead and get some Tench ground bait in here. So most of this we've done without ground bait, just kind of testing it, but I'm going to start adding ground bait back to it. First of all, let me kind of show you what the results have been. Just sort of one morning, a brief amount of fishing, just a few minutes really. These are the Tench we've caught. If you look at all the fish, you can see it's a pretty high percentage of Tench, which is nice. I'll show you what baits we're using, but first let me just show you. This is one of the Model 1 feeders I'm using with a gold. You don't need gear this heavy. As you can see, we're downgrading the gear a little bit. We've got 9.7 fluorocarbon line on here. If you don't have the silver for the fluorocarbon line, I think using mono line with fluorocarbon leaders will do you just fine. You want to go for that 9.7 range, I would say, somewhere around 10, a little more, a little less. Kind of test different leaders out. I've only done it with the fluorocarbon line at this point. And you can see on this rig we're using Tench ground bait. We just put that back in after not using it for a while, and we're using casters, which is a new one for me, going for Tench with casters. Let me go ahead and pull this fish out, and I will show you on this one. As you can see on the top left of the screen, we're using honey dough, which if you have leveled your crafting up enough to make honey dough, it is also a worthwhile Tench bait. You will catch some other things as well. It's a good time to say beware of the carp. Honey dough will get carp on the line, although to be fair, I think especially common carp will probably occasionally go after all of these baits. Our final rig I want to show you is what we're using is cheese. If you're lower level, you may just go cheese, straight across. To be fair, you are occasionally going to get into grass carp with cheese, or commons will eat just about anything. So be prepared for that. Just kind of be ready for the fact that you could have some really big fights on your hand. The good news is we are facing the pond, so there's only so far the fish can go. Your strategy should be to try to wear them out and reel them in if at all possible. But the biggest thing you want to make sure is that you don't, in chasing them around the pond, you don't want to end up allowing them to exit the pond, because then you're likely to get spooled if your gear is not prepared for the carp. But we've been fishing for a few minutes with these three baits, and as you can see, we've caught 0 carp, 0 common, 0 grass. There are other spots that are good for Tench right now at Old Burg, but I tend to get a lot more common and grass carp in those other spots. So I think this might be a fairly safe, fairly good option if you're trying to catch the Tench, which, if you don't know, provide a good bit of XP and silver returns. So it's one of the fish here at Old Burg, and just in general in the game, that folks often want to go for. In terms of other baits you could use, I've heard people have used algae. Now, you are begging for carp if you use algae, but I've heard that Tench have been biting algae. Tench will also bite any of the worm varieties as well, maybe even maggots. So there's lots of options for Tench. Right now, I'm kind of liking the honey dough, caster, and cheese trio of baits. I'm also enjoying this spot. Just another spot I'll mention real quickly here, kind of on the other side of the pond. This is an older spot. I know people have used this for a long time, but Tench can be caught over there. Again, I tend to catch a lot more carp. I don't think I would have this high a percentage of Tench if I was fishing over in that spot. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. Just wanted to give you a quick update on Tench at Old Burg. Seems to be quite good, especially in the early morning to mid-morning hours, I would say, or when you're going to see the Tench really start popping at times, at least. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned, we're using size 8 hooks. I guess I did say that we're using, oh, there's no bait there. Did we miss a fish? Oh, there is bait. That might just be a glitch. Let's reel it in to make sure, though. We could have missed a fish. I'm not sure. We are using size 8 hooks. Like I said, pretty much the same setup as what we were using to go after bream at Volkov, catching those trophy bream and eyed at Volkov. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for watching as always. What's up, Zab? Good evening to you. Hope you're doing well. All right, we've got some time before